The BMR NBA show. My name is Junior Browne, flying solo today. You guys know about Hoodie Mello, but you might not know about Hoodie Junior. Here alone, holding it down. You guys need the picks, need the insight. Maybe not need. Need's a strong word. Maybe I'm being a bit arrogant. You guys want picks, you want insight, and we take this very seriously. We want to make sure we're always here to talk basketball. And guys, get active in the chat today if you can. If you've got picks, I want to know what they are. I'll try to read them out, but since I'm flying solo, I might not be able to. Some pretty decent action last night. Because I'm by myself, I'm really not going to get into it too much other than, first of all, Jordan Nwora crosses a kid over, drops him on his ass, and does what young players do sometimes, get a little too excited, start talking trash, and then all of a sudden the basketball gods are like, all right, bro, let's teach you a little lesson. We're going to have Christian Wood absolutely baptize you. I mean, I've been watching basketball my whole life. You don't see people get dunked on with two hands as hard as he got dunked on too often. That's one of the dunks of the season. One of the rare highlights for the Rockets, who still end up getting blown up by 20. Those of you who are expecting me to talk trash about some of the struggling teams here, I'm not really going to do that because I'm about to get into the Hawks breakdown. They lost to the Orlando Magic at home. So if you weren't taking me seriously when I said the Hawks are in a lot of trouble, hope you're hearing me now. Yesterday, I said you can't blindly bet Denver just because the Thunder have struggled. The Thunder have shown things recently, and they end up getting the outright W, which is really surprising. And I felt like the Clippers, if George Paul, a.k.a. Paul George, depending on the season, was able to play. I asked the question yesterday, if you've got money invested on the Kings, you must know something the rest of us don't, because they're a dumpster fire even when everything is going right. And that's certainly not the case right now. Things are going very wrong. And one last thing, the Celtics, I suppose I'll give them a bit of a shout out because they won by 10 points. But as we know, the Cavaliers were shorthanded. They're a defensive team, and they were missing their best defensive players. So while I do give the Celtics credit for continuing to improve and kind of turn things around, I don't consider that a quality win. So now that we've gone over those games from last night, you guys are here for tonight's games. Esteban, whenever you're ready, my brother. Let's get into it. All right. So my official pick in this game, I'm taking a little bit of a different route here. I'm actually going with a prop pick. I'm taking Ja Morant over 21.5 points. I'm pretty sure, without really getting too much into it, a lot of you can guess why I'm taking Ja. He was really, really disrespected by his home fans. And he seems like the kind of guy who, instead of crying over spilt milk, he's going to come back out here and remind the fans out in Memphis why he was Rookie of the Year, why he's a future All-Star, and why he has even more potential than that. He has All NBA potential, and if he can stay healthy and have a long career, he has Hall of Fame potential. That's how good I think Ja Morant is. And I think that tonight he comes out with a chip on his shoulder. I mean, he already kind of plays with a chip on his shoulder even when everything is going right. But I think tonight he really tries to come out and prove a point by showing the people that he is not to be disrespected and he's to be taken seriously. As for the actual full game, I'm not nearly as interested in that. I feel like to blindly back the Warriors here seems like a bit of a square play. Obviously, for me to make a case for Memphis here would be pretty difficult, other than to say Memphis's defenses have improved. So my look in this game, if I did have one, would not be on the sides. It would actually be on the total. The total of this game is sitting at around 217 and a half. Not too much movement since it opened. I would be willing to bet under here. I think other than John Morant, the rest of the Grizzlies, you can't call them consistent. Again, this is one of those by committee teams. The sum of their parts is how they get things done. So when they're missing, guys like Brandon Clark is out. I don't really love Tyus Jones, but he's out there. When you start pulling out rotation players, it's going to kind of mess up what chemistry they have going on. And I think that the play here would be the under. They're going to listen. This Memphis Grizzlies team right now is actually one of the more efficient offensive teams in the league. I'm a skeptic. I'm really not sure that's sustainable. They've got a pretty tough 3-game road stretch here where they play Golden State tonight. They play the Kings on Boxing Day, but then they go to Phoenix the very next day and play the Suns. So even though that Kings game should be a W for you, it's almost one of those dangerous look-ahead spots where they might get caught with their pants down. So as for this game, my official pick is the over 21.5 for John Morant. And that's for the sides and totals. I lean to the under. Definitely not official, though. So with that in mind, let's move on to the next one. And the next one is a pretty interesting one here. I mean, not to me, but it's interesting to a lot of people, obviously, because of what is going on with the Lakers. Los Angeles is 16-16. Obviously not looking like a championship caliber team right now. But as we well know, or as anyone that's been following basketball for the last 20 years should know, can't really count out LeBron James. If he can get his team into the playoffs, all he needs is the opportunity. And once the tournament starts, because that's what the playoffs are, right? It's a glorified tournament. Once a tournament starts, he's always got a chance to get something done. But at some point, we can't keep pretending to not see what we're seeing in terms of the lack of chemistry here. I pick on Russell Westbrook a lot, personally, because he's not one of my favorite players. I don't like the way he makes decisions. I don't like the fact that all of his statistics don't add up to winning. But I don't want to make it as simple as it's his fault. It's Russell Westbrook's fault. No, it's actually Lakers front office fault. Because again, if you watch basketball, you've never seen Russell Westbrook be anything than a ball-dominant player. You've never seen that. The non-ball dominant Russell Westbrook, it does not exist. Okay, so when you bring him into this dynamic that the Lakers have, and you ask him to play off the ball, you're basically asking him to do something that he's never proven to be good at. Now, it's not really worked out that way, right? Because if you look at the Lakers' usage rating, LeBron's usage rating is 29%, and Russell Westbrook's is just under 28%. So Russell Westbrook is basically as ball dominant as LeBron, and that's a problem. And it's a problem because Westbrook is a turnover machine. Russell Westbrook is averaging 4.6 turnovers a game compared to his 8.2 assists, right? So his assist to turnover ratio is going south. LeBron James at the exact same time, listen, this guy is Superman. It's actually incredible to watch a guy in his 19th season still be able to jump and do chase down blocks and get his head over the rim, still look athletic and still recover and come back and play and really be consistently the best player on his team that gives the most effort, considering he's surrounded by a couple of other future Hall of Famers. But here's the actual real storyline that people don't talk about. You guys know that as being a part of this business is really looking at numbers and breaking them down and really getting into the meat and bones of what they mean, right? And when you look at every single superstar who has ever played basketball before, and if you want to kind of figure out like what's the point of these guys' career where it starts to kind of trend down, like where like you can clearly see they kind of hit a point where, okay, well, they're not going to get better than this. From here on in, it's only going to get worse. And it feels like I'm being disrespectful by saying this, but please don't take it that way. LeBron's free throw attempts. LeBron, for his career, okay, has averaged 8 free throw attempts per game. At this height, like in his peak, he was getting to the line 10 times a game. Back when he was like a 25, 26-year-old, he's getting to the line 10 times a game. He went to Miami, and that kind of tailed off a little bit, and then he settled in so during the Miami-Cleveland era, he was like just under, between 7 and 8, like just under 8. Now he's at 5. And I'm sure some of you are thinking, well, what's the big deal? Well, when your free throws start to dissipate like that, like when you're just unable to get to the line, it's a sign that you've lost a step. It's a sign that you're not able to put yourself in a position where, because the old LeBron, this is what would happen in crunch time. He would get the ball and he would basically do that thing where he's like, listen, I'm going to go to the rim basically every single time and force referees to make a decision. And since I'm LeBron, that decision is probably going to work out in my favor more times than not. So he was kind of unstoppable in clutch situations because of the fact that when push comes to shove, feed him the ball in the mid post, he turns around. If LeBron James is one step or one dribble, I should say, excuse me, if LeBron is one dribble away from the rim, that's a basket or 2 free throws. Take your pick. That guy does not exist anymore. I'm sorry to tell you guys, and maybe he's saving that guy for the playoffs. That's very, very possible. LeBron is one of the most intelligent basketball players. I'm not talking about his off the court stuff. Not to say that he's not a smart guy, but I'm talking about on the court. His basketball IQ is one of the highest we've ever seen. So maybe he is doing that thing where he's saving a little something for the playoffs. But I'm a believer that sports doesn't work like that. You can't just turn on the switch where you develop a bad habit and then you save this good habit for later. No, it's you play the way you practice the way you play. And I think that the Lakers have to come to the realization that LeBron by himself, it's not enough. Now, obviously, AD is going to come back. He has a sprained MCL or whatever it is. But he's also Mr. Glass. He's also a guy who literally wakes up in the morning as probable. I don't even need to check the injury report. I just assume that he's going to be probable because he's always goddamn hurt in some form or fashion. So unless Anthony Davis becomes the guy on that team, they're not winning another championship, because between me and you, what's Anthony Davis's excuse? Like, look at it this way. 2 years ago, people were legitimately comparing this dude to Tim Duncan. Today, that sounds mad disrespectful, because if Tim Duncan was on this team, especially the version of Tim Duncan that's Anthony Davis's age, because Anthony Davis, even though he's been in the NBA forever, he's only 27 years old. He's still 28 years old. He's still a young dude. 28-year-old Tim Duncan with this version of LeBron, just go ahead and plan the parade. That's a automatic championship, bro. I know that I'm kind of not talking about tonight's game itself. I'm pretty sure you guys can figure out why. I'm not betting on anything involving the Lakers until further notice, because again, the difference between their floor and their ceiling is way too extreme right now. When they're at their best, they can beat anybody. When they're at their worst, they can lose to anybody, and that does not make them a bet-on team. First of all, before I even say another word about that, just know the Lakers are 6-12 ATS at home. Garbage. Absolute garbage. And as for the Spurs, if you guys have been watching this show for the last couple of years, first of all, we appreciate you. But you'll know that I can't cap the Spurs to save my life. Therefore, I stay away from them. I will say that DeJounte Murray's trade value is through the goddamn roof right now. That young boy is balling. He's finally fulfilling the potential that Spurs fans always thought he had. So I'm glad to see that. But as for this game, I got nothing. So Esteban, let's move on to the next one, brother. I definitely got something to say about this, though. The Hawks. What are y'all doing, bro? What's going on in ATL? Listen, Atlanta's one of my favorite cities. I'm always out there, always out there in Decatur. Love it out there. Great vibe, great fans. For those of you that are a little bit younger, you might not know that Atlanta kind of in the past used to have a reputation of having like fair weather fans. As someone that goes there a lot, I mean, one of the main reasons for that is like half the people in Atlanta are not really from Atlanta. So that doesn't really help. Unless you're talking about the Braves, Atlanta teams don't really tend to get great support because, make no mistake, people in Atlanta are die-hard Braves fans. That's not a joke. As for these Hawks, though, they surprised us. They made it to the Eastern Conference Final last year. And I've been saying all season about the Knicks. If the Knicks don't finish in the top 15 defensively, they're not making the playoffs. Now, I won't take it that far with Atlanta because the difference between Atlanta and New York is that Atlanta can get scorching hot at any given time. They have the number 2 ranked offense in terms of efficiency in the league. So the problem is super clear. They're 26th in the league in defense. That's not going to cut it. Now, some people might say, well, they were 21st in defense last year and they made it to the Eastern Conference Final, but that's not accurate. They were 21st in defense for the entirety of the season. But when Nate McMillan took over for Lloyd Pierce, from that point on, they were one of not only the best defensive teams in the league, they were just one of the best teams in the league, period. And that happened because they solidified themselves on the defensive end. This version of the Atlanta Hawks is a disaster. If they're going to finish 26th in the league, they could get into the play-in tournament, but they ain't going to do much. They're going to go home. They're going to go home before the first round even starts. Now, obviously, some of y'all are probably like, yeah, but Trae Young didn't play. Son, if y'all can't beat the Orlando Magic with or without Trae Young, because you suck. It's because you're garbage. Because the Orlando Magic are garbage. I'm going to tell you that right now. Orlando is not a good team. So not having Trae Young is not a valid excuse to lose this team. And on top of the fact that the Magic are literally missing their entire roster. Cole Anthony didn't play, right? And Cole Anthony is one of the few bright spots for this Magic team. Like, Cole Anthony is quietly looking like a most improved player candidate. You gotta say, like, his minutes have gone up significantly. He's a starter now, and he looks like the real deal. I had my doubts about Cole Anthony. I'm not gonna lie to you. Coming out of high school, he was really, really hyped. He was pretty good in North Carolina, but I just didn't think, like, Cole Anthony looks like he weighs $180 soaking wet, and I was just like, that he's just too frail looking. But nah, that boy got game. He could play. He got heart. Obviously, his father is a former NBA player, so he's got the pedigree. I like what I see from Cole Anthony. I do not like anything of what I see from the Hawks. My official play in this game is actually on the over. The total on this game is real low. I got the over 208.5. I think that, first of all, Clint Capella being out is huge for Joel Embiid. He's going to eat. And honest to God, and I know this is going to sound crazy to some people, the reason why I'm taking the over here is because I don't believe that the Sixers can slow down the Hawks enough for this game to go under the total. I think the more accurate total for this game would probably be something like 215, 216-ish. I think this number is way short. Obviously, I understand why it's short, because the rest advantage that Philadelphia is going to enjoy. Atlanta played last night, and now they got this quick turnaround against a Philly team that's going to be kind of desperate for wins. Also, the flight from Atlanta to Philly, it's not ain't the shortest one in the world either. Might have had a little late night, or getting in late. Blah, blah, blah. That actually has me staying away from the side, because when I look at this minus 10, I think to myself, what the F? Who's laying 10 points with this Sixers team against anybody in the NBA right now? Please, you guys in the chat, I'm going to pull up my phone because I'm by myself, so I can't really read this chat on the screen. I'm going to pull up my phone and try reading the chat. If y'all know why this line is -10, can you please explain it to me? Because I don't know. I don't understand what the hell is going on. The 76ers are not 10 points better than anybody in the NBA right now. In case you guys are wondering, because I bring up margin of victory a lot. You know what the Sixers' margin of victory is? It's in the negative. It's negative 0.9. So you're telling me that a team over the course of the season that loses games by an average of 1 point a game, I should lay 10 points with them? Why? Why? Because Atlanta played last night? That's it? That's the reason? Because Atlanta's short-handed? Get out of here, bro. The Sixers are kind of short-handed themselves. They're short a bunch of shooters. They're short a backup center. Yeah. Some of you might hear what I'm saying and say, well, doesn't that actually play to the under? Nah, it doesn't, for one very specific reason. Both of these teams are ass cheeks defensively, like horrible defensively. The Sixers have a lot of potential. They're not the 20th best defense in the league, which is what they're ranked in right now. They're much closer to a top 10 defense, but the proof is in the pudding. I'm just saying it. It's just a bunch of yapping that I'm doing right now. They got to go out and they got to prove it, and I see no evidence of that. And you add to the fact that the Hawks are one of the most efficient offensive teams in the league, and add to the fact that the Hawks are short their big men, and add to the fact that the Sixers really are not in a position to drop any more games. I think Philadelphia comes out with a sense of urgency in this game, and they put a beating on Atlanta, but not to the tune of double digits, though. Might need to pump our collective brakes on that one. So I would take the points with the Hawks if I was picking a side, which I'm not. I'm on the over. That's my official play. I'm going to need to speed this up because we got 2 more games and only a couple minutes to go. I'm going to be real quick with this game. I could really only look to Charlotte here. Denver will probably want to bounce back for what happened to them last night. Pretty embarrassing, obviously, losing to Oklahoma City, who are barely an NBA caliber team in terms of talent, and even sometimes in terms of effort, if we're just being honest. So I would expect Denver to come out with a better effort. But the reality is, just like I said with the Sixers, what I expect and what I see are not the same thing. I mean, again, this is a team that just lost to Minnesota the other day, and I know Minnesota's better, but they also just recently lost to San Antonio. They lost to Orlando like 2 weeks ago. They got a lot of bad losses, and at some point, we got to come to the realization that they are who they are, and who they could potentially be is nowhere in sight. They obviously, if Jamal Murray comes back, if they get some continuity back, they'll be a playoff team. But today, December 23rd, 2021, they suck, son. They're not a good basketball team. So for me, I can't possibly lay any points with these guys. I can only take points. I wish this number was at 3 or higher for me to get involved, because it's 2.5 isn't enough. But at least the Hornets are healthy. Like, the Hornets have had injury issues all over the place, even without the health and safety protocols. But again, am I going to take the points with a team that's lost 4 of their last 5 games? I'm not running to do it. This is a really, really tough stretch for them. This is their 6th consecutive road game, and their 2nd consecutive at altitude. Even though, at least if you like Charlotte in this situation, at least they've been off since Monday, and they've gotten to practice at altitude for a couple of days. So for me, it's Charlotte or nothing. But the number's too short, so that's nothing. So Esteban, whenever you're ready, let's get to this last one. Now I'm taking it over in this last game. I don't know what's up with Dad Bod Doncic, because that's until he's no longer a fat boy. He's Dad Bod Doncic to me. I don't care how disrespectful, because people keep messaging me saying, "Oh, you're being disrespectful." Nah, he's being disrespectful to himself by being fat. So yeah, as long as Dad Bod Doncic is out, obviously to me, Dallas is not a bet on team. But I do think this total is kind of short. I know Milwaukee just played last night, so that's definitely factored in. But again, Dallas has kind of shown that without Doncic, even though you know they're worse, it just means more equal opportunity for other players and a chance for them to get going. Jalen Brunson had 18 shots. Jalen Brunson is one of those weird players where when he's on his game, he looks like unstoppable. It's so funny to me. So he's getting a chance to ball out. And it's one of those situations where him and Dorian Finney-Smith are the only two players that took over 10 shots. Everyone else basically had somewhere between 7 and 9 shots. And I'm talking spread out between like 8 dudes. Like those two had over 10 shots, and then another 8 dudes had 7+ shots. So it's kind of hard to game plan for that. Like, I'm not saying it's easier to game plan for Luka. I'm not an idiot. What I am saying is, what's your game plan? Stop everybody? You can't key on any one guy. Here's my brother walking around in the background. Don't mind him. No, you're good, bro. It's your house. I'm in my brother's house, so he can do whatever he wants. Shout out to my bro for holding me down always. But yeah, no, in all seriousness, what are you going to key on if you're trying to stop these dudes, right? So I think that Dallas can at least get a good between 107 to 110 points here, which should help push that total over. And as for Milwaukee, listen, if you're not really paying attention to what's going on, the Bucks, to me, are getting back into championship form. Their players are playing with a level of confidence that even though the results don't always come, because they've only won 2 out of their last 5 games. So it's not like they're scorching hot. But I just look at the little things. I look at their offense, how they run it, the effort that people are given. And they all kind of seem like they buy in. First of all, the fact that Jordan Nwora yesterday was able to put up 18 shots in 26 minutes kind of lets you know, like, because, like, I don't know, like, if you guys watch basketball the same way I do, but what I try to do personally is, like, look at the sets teams run, because the sets that teams run kind of give you an idea of, okay, so when they need a basket in a tough situation, do they have a set that they run that's like, almost a guaranteed bucket? The thing with Milwaukee that makes them a championship caliber team is they don't run horns, or they don't run 1-4 high, or they don't run, corners, or any of the other like traditional NBA offenses that everybody else runs. They kind of run like a free-flowing, like, okay, Giannis stands in the mid to high post, and everything kind of just revolves around that. They run UCLA cuts, and they run dribble handoffs and high pick and rolls. So you can't really go into a game against them saying, we're going to stop this one thing other than the tactic that you've seen like Miami use and you've seen the Raptors use in the past, where they kind of just create a wall around Giannis, right? Like, that's the only tactic to stop the Milwaukee Bucks is don't let Giannis get ahead of steam, whether it's full court or in half court. If you see him start to pick up ahead of steam, you leave your guy, come double him, or come not double him, like a hard double, but like put up resistance, like get in his path so that he has to pass off. Without Giannis now, you can't even key in on that. You just have to kind of play fundamentally sound defense and play good help and watch out for your guy and have your guys back. And not every team could do that. And I'm going to take it a step further. A team coached by Jason Kidd, I don't know, bro. Maybe they can, maybe they can't. But I ain't banking on it. I like this total. I like it to go over. I think that Milwaukee can put up at least $115, at least, against this Dallas team, which should help that number sail over the total. I know Dallas is only giving up 105 points a game. So some of you are like, well, why are you saying that? They give up the 5th fewest points per game. Yeah, they also play at the slowest pace in the league, though. So that's kind of one of those things where that statistic doesn't necessarily hold true. And I actually think that without Luka, Milwaukee's going to be able to control the pace, because Luka is the reason why Dallas plays at a fucking crawl speed. So anyways, I'm on the over there. Somehow by myself, I still went over the time. So Esteban, sorry about that. Let's go ahead and wrap it up with the officials when you get a chance, my guy. So John Morant bounced back and shut up all the yapping going on in Memphis over Hawks and Sixers. Both defenses are not looking good this season. I think that number is way too low. Same thing for this number, over 209. I know Milwaukee played last night, but I do think that they can still put up at least somewhere between $112 and $115, which should help push that over the total, because Dallas is definitely going to get into get over 100 points here. So I think that this number should, I don't want to say easily go over the total, but I think we should be good to go. Thank you guys for joining us as always. Tomorrow the NBA is off and back on Christmas Day. But we appreciate you guys. Please go to BMR's website and support the articles on there. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Like, share, subscribe. My name is Junior Browne. Same time, same place. I'll give you guys a double salute. Same time, same place. 12:30 Eastern Time, Friday. Let's cash some tickets, y'all. And thank you for supporting the show. We really appreciate you.